This module describes the structure of an access policy. This is the core mechanism in the security layer provided by eEM, which currently does not exist in AAI. It makes it possible to secure specific areas on a more granular level. We can define user groups and then set limits on their range of action, say delete job streams, perform an export, or access reports. An eEM access policy has many moving parts. They are assigned identities, in other words, those affected by the policy, some options, resources to define the functional perimeter like job streams or user interfaces, and filters to narrow the scope of the policy. At first, eEM policies can seem overwhelming. Thankfully, the AAI team made the process easy and painless by providing policy templates which can be cloned to secure the AAI environment without the challenges of working with eEM. Most of these predefined policies are simple. You disable access to the thick client or import and export, remove the ability to change reports definitions, or disable user management functions. They're on and off switches. Job streams and business areas are a bit more complicated. Administrators will want to restrict access to certain job streams by name or business area. We'll give specific consideration to these requirements. Once we understand how access policies work, we'll be in a position to create our own. We'll briefly describe the process of creating a new policy based on one of the existing templates. Then we'll demo the entire process from start to finish in a separate video. Let's look at the components of a policy. It grants or denies access to specific AI feature sets. The JAWSCreate.xml script loads objects called resource classes, which you can see in the Configure tab under the Applications menu. In the AAI application folder on the left, there are 12 resource classes and they should not be changed. Resource classes target specific topics like user interfaces, job streams, or schedulers. They contain a list of possible actions that users can perform against these topics. There's a total of 12 classes. There are aspects of AI which you can secure with a policy. You will never have to administer these resource classes, and you can ignore them. However, moving forward, be aware that an access policy always targets one and only one of these resource classes. We've selected two classes of interest to show the actions you can perform against them. The first is the JAWS application class, which sets access permissions to the different interfaces, say the client, the command line, the import-export functions, the web UI, and so forth. The policy grants or denies use of these environments. Using the policy associated with JAWS application, you'll be able to define a user group and lock it out of the client entirely. The second example is the job stream. You'll be able to restrict access to certain job streams based on part of their name and the business area that they belong to. Furthermore, you'll be able to determine what users can do, say delete a job stream or change the business area. This is the structure of an access policy. It has a resource class, say job stream or JAWS application. The resource class states the action: view, edit a job stream, or log into the client, access the CLI, and so forth. We also have resource filters, which only apply to job streams. In all other cases, all resources will be stated. The job stream is a bit more complex. You may want to restrict access to a specific set of job streams in a business area, for example. As a result, we'll use regular expressions to set those filters. We'll get to that. Resources are associated to actions identified by simple checkboxes that you tick or untick. Then we add identities to policies. These are either individual eEM users or user groups. Remember that, first and foremost, AAI user groups are mapped to a dynamic policy associated with the basic AAI user roles, admin and non-admin. So, to be clear, an application user group to which you associate the non-admin user dynamic policy will see no add, edit, or delete buttons in the admin tab. The dynamic policy takes precedence over access policies. It suppresses the buttons in the clients irrespective of what the access policy says. Remember that eEM policies apply to individual users just as effectively as to user groups. In the identity selection, you can add simple users. They do not need to be part of a group. The AAI teams have created some access policy templates so that we don't have to work with them from scratch. Under the Manage Access Policies tab in the Policies menu, we find a set of policy folders. Each folder contains one or more policies for a particular resource class, JAWS application, job streams, custom action, and so forth. In the job stream folder, we have 3 templates for business area, job stream add delete, and job stream paths. We'll come back to this. Let's look at an eEM policy. It does have some moving parts. Fortunately, Broadcom has designed the templates to simplify and streamline the process. You find standard buttons, save, save as, delete, and close. Always use save as to clone a template into a new active policy. A policy has 4 options. Explicit deny reverses the effect of the policy. The default setting is explicit grant, meaning resources targeted by the policy become accessible. Explicit deny allows us to block access to a resource which might have been granted by another policy. You're telling the system that a feature is effectively off limits to that particular user or user group. You can disable a policy. There are several situations where this is useful. For example, when users complain about being unfairly locked out of a resource, you can disable the policy temporarily, allowing those users to do their jobs until you fix the problem. Pre-deploying the policy means enabling without enforcement. It allows all other functions like testing and troubleshooting without actually locking users out. Finally, assign labels lets you change certain UI labels, which we can ignore. You should ignore the resource class drop-down menu. We don't change this, since these policy templates are already set up for specific AAI functions. You should also ignore access policy types for similar reasons. Let's quickly go over them. The access policy option lets us select one or more identities and several resources, to which we apply the same security level. You cannot set custom actions for each resource. Access control list lets you select one or more identities and multiple resources, and then set custom actions for each resource. We don't recommend using this. Instead, we recommend overlapping policies. The final option, Identity Access Control List, is used in all of our templates. We can select several identities, several resources, and set different access permissions for each identity, which apply generically to all resources. This is most appropriate for AAI. It means you can design a specific access policy and then add all the user communities affected by it. So this is what the policy looks like. You create the new policy from the template and simply add all the identities you need. Permission check allows you to test your policy. It's found in the Manage Access Policies tab under the Permission Check menu. You enter the resource class, say JobStream, the action you want to test, the actual resource, say a business area, / and a job stream, and the user. You click Run Permission Check. It tells you if the user is allowed or denied. Since actions are denied by default, allows show the responsible policy.